It's our job to make little kids into bigger kids and then eventually maybe great adults.
I do not believe in saying every night you have to do dishes and every night you have to do this.
No,
that is not. No, I think at a certain age, absolutely. Like once you're a teenager, you're a big kid now. Like, let's make sure every night you make sure before you go up to your room, you make sure this is swept.
No, the dishes can be done every night by the girls. Like, sometimes dishes will go for a couple days and they pile up and I get annoyed and like, you might be saying, Justin, if you get annoyed, get in there and do it. Sure. Right. So I don't get really annoyed because I could do them myself, but I don't want to do them. And,
Well, this is also the biggest thing. I think sometimes, like, if I'm having an off time period or like even this past, couple weeks, things have been difficult for me. Like if I'm like certain things that I would do every day and even several times a day, like then I'm not doing them because my mind is somewhere else. Then things start to pile up. Then it looks like, wow, this is a lot of stuff now to get done. Rather than normally I'm doing things every single day. So that even on the day that I'm like, okay, girls, you got to do this tonight, it's not piled up to the ceiling,
Right. Right. So I personally think the girls would find a lot of joy in them having a responsibility that they know is important versus they would not have any joy in something they think they're doing just because, mom and dad want them to be busy. There's two very big different mindsets there from kids, and they're both directed from the adults because, you're right. The kids are kids. We want them to have a good childhood, but they're not going to sit around their iPads all evening and just be served food and whatever. They live in a house. It's our job to make little kids into bigger kids and then eventually maybe great adults. And to do that, they have to learn skills and organization, how to work. Dishes, I think, are a great thing because they can work together. And if they do it well every time, then they can be done in about 10 minutes. These are the things that I feel are very important for a family to communicate correctly to the kids so that they come away with being useful as opposed to being used. Mm-hmm. And those are two very different things there. What I wanted to do, and we could talk about it right now, is that we're getting a calendar for the girls in Jersey. I'm of the mindset that I want them to look at their weeks and feel organized and structured and important and like what they're doing. And like, so we write every little thing on there, your taekwondo practice, your soccer practice. I'm going to put on there spending time with dad. I'm going to look at my weeks and like, okay, what do we have going on here? That way they can look at their weeks and say, okay, I got a big week coming up. I got school, I got all these other things. On Saturday, I got this. As I go over the calendar, I will go over it in a way that like, I'll make sure all of these events are important to me. Like these are important things that you're doing so that they feel important. That's the purpose of a lot of this, is just not giving them something to do, but making their life important to them.
I had a calendar printout of their schedule for like, it was a week, because it was the same thing every week. So it was a calendar printout of Monday or Sunday through, let's just start the week on Monday, Jesus. Sunday through Saturday of what their week looked like. Like I said, it's the same week all the time. So it was like, okay, 2:00 this, you get home from school, you have taekwondo this time, blah, blah, blah. That's changed now with certain things changing around. But I think one of the things that is important when you do something like that is actually sticking to it, because I think we, and mainly you, and this is where sometimes we get into it, because I'm like, we say, let's do a calendar, we do a calendar, but then you're off.
I want to do a written down calendar.
I'm not saying written or not, but I'm saying you tend to just dismiss it sometimes. And I'm like, that. Well,
I'm not going to disappoint the kids. So if I don't stick to it to myself sometimes, it's like, okay, well, I didn't, that's adults really. But like, I'm not going to disappoint my kids.
No, but I'm saying it's not disappointment. I'm saying in general, like having that calendar and saying this is what's happening that time period. Even like with adult, with me, like, okay, we're supposed to do this on this day or that day, and then you're like, oh, well, I plan to do this, and I was like, oh, well.
Well, I think I've gotten better. I'm trying to get better. The digital thing, it kind of sucks for me sometimes because I just don't.
Well, but it pops up a reminder. That's why I do it, because it literally says, hey, in a week, this is happening. 2 days away now, 1 day away.
It usually says 1 day. I need something that's like, 7 days. So that would be a better awareness, I think, for the stuff that you're doing, because it normally says in an hour. I'm like, oh, okay.
But that'll be the last notification.
So to me, when I see it in an hour, that means I just disregard it completely, because I'm like, I just heard about this, right? So,
okay.
So, anyhow, I think we're going to wrap it up with that. Just, it's an important discussion. What do you guys feel about that? I think we'll continue it because I think I have more to say. I'm sure she has more to say, but it's really about, telling a little bit of those stories about our childhood and kind of the direction of where kids should go and helping out around the house and not doing too much, but doing enough to feel important and to feel valued and to also contribute to a good childhood.